There is a moment that happens in yards and parks all across the country, in the weeks before winter, and almost no one who witnesses it understands what they are actually looking at. A crow lands on the grass. It walks a few deliberate steps. It pauses and turns its head to check each direction, methodically, one side then the
Understanding
other,
crow caching.
then
Two
presses
views.
something
The
into the
simple
dirt
assumption
and
he is
covers the
just hungry
spot
and
with a
looking for a quick
leaf or
snack.
a small
The purposeful
stone or a piece of bark. Then it flies away. Most people see a bird hiding food, which is technically accurate. But the mental machinery required to perform that action the way crows actually perform it is one of the most remarkable things documented in all of animal behavioral science. And understanding it changes not just how you see crows, but how you understand what the boundary between animal cognition and human cognition actually is. Crows are what researchers formally classify as episodic future thinkers. That term has a precise meaning in cognitive science, and it is worth understanding what it actually means. Episodic future thinking is the ability to mentally project yourself into a future scenario that does not yet exist, to represent what that future scenario will require, and to take concrete action in the present based on that representation. You do this constantly, usually without noticing. You pack an umbrella because you have mentally simulated tomorrow's rain. You set an alarm because you have mentally simulated waking up late. You plan a grocery run because you have mentally simulated a refrigerator that will be empty by Thursday. For a long time, researchers believed that this capacity was uniquely human, or at most limited to a small number of large-brained mammals like primates and elephants. The accumulating research on crows has forced a significant revision of that assumption. And it happened because researchers started looking closely at something most people take for granted: the way crows cache food. The caching itself is not the remarkable part. Many animals hide food. Squirrels do it. Some dogs do it. What makes crow caching different is everything that happens around it, before it, and after it, and what that surrounding behavior reveals about the mental model the crow is operating from. In a series of controlled experiments, researchers gave crows access to food in two different locations on alternating days. One location on some days, the other location on the remaining days, in a pattern the crows could learn. The key manipulation was this: the researchers made it clear, through the experimental setup, that crows would have access to one location tomorrow but not the other. The crows were then given the opportunity to cache food in either location. What the crows did was cache food preferentially in the location they would be able to access tomorrow. They made a decision in the present based on a representation of a future state, a future in which they would need food in a specific place. They traded short-term convenience for long-term strategic advantage, without instruction, without prior training on this specific task, and with a consistency that could not be explained by chance or by simple conditioning. They were planning, specifically for a tomorrow they could not yet see but had clearly modeled. And then it gets more complex, because crows do not plan in a simple, fixed way. They plan flexibly in response to social circumstances that are themselves complex and changing. Crows are intensely competitive about food. They steal from each other's caches with regularity. Researchers documented this, and then they discovered something extraordinary. Crows know when they are being watched while caching. Specifically, they know when another crow has observed where they placed food. And when they know they have been observed, they return later, when the observer is not present, and move the cache to a new location. This behavior requires modeling the mental state of another individual. The reasoning chain is: this crow saw where I put the food. This crow wants the food. This crow will go to that location. The food is no longer safe there. I need to move it before that happens. That is not instinct. That is not a fixed behavior pattern. That is flexible social reasoning that accounts for what another individual knows and what that individual is likely to do based on what it knows. Researchers call this a theory of mind, the ability to represent the mental states of other individuals and use those representations to predict behavior. It is the same cognitive architecture that underlies human understanding of deception, manipulation, and social strategy. And developmental psychologists note that it does not emerge in human children until around age 4. Before that, children cannot reliably model that another person holds a belief that differs from their own. Crows pass versions of the tests designed to probe theory of mind, not always in identical form to the human tests, but in designs calibrated to what is testable with birds, using food and social competition as the stakes, which for a crow are the highest stakes domain of their existence. the same brain that tracks the location of hundreds of food caches scattered across several acres of land and successfully recovers the majority of them weeks or months later, is also tracking what other individuals in its social environment know, want, and are likely to do. These are not separate cognitive capacities. They are the same capacity applied to different problems: precise spatial memory for physical locations and precise social memory for the intentions and knowledge states of specific individuals. When you watch a crow cache food in your yard, you are watching an animal run a multivariable strategic calculation in real time. It is accounting for its own future nutritional needs, the likelihood of interference from specific competitors it has identified and assessed, the relative security of different cache locations based on observability, and the behavioral history of the humans in the environment who might disturb the location before it can be retrieved. The crow pressing something into your grass in October is not hiding food on impulse. It has already thought about tomorrow, and it is fairly confident it has accounted for most of what tomorrow will require.